Morning, morning. Welcome to another live with Rally in the morning. This morning we talk about snails. Uh, Appreciate you all for stopping by as we delve into another interesting topic. It is hope that you will find this interested and that you will continue to be a part of this channel. Remember to subscribe, share, like, and hit that all notification bell. So let's delve into the topic. Snails in your aquarium. Alright. So this morning, Grandeel. Oh, I thought Vinny was here, but Vinny stopped by last night to hear me up. Alright. So a few years ago I practiced the habit of actually going by the river, doing the river to be exact, in Kingston. uh I practice to go by that and pick up some plants. Yeah, I usually have what you call hyacinth lilies, right? I would pick it up from the river and I would actually carry home these plants and place into my pond. And if you look at my videos, my first set of videos, you'll see a lot of hyacinth lilies in my pond system. A lot of persons usually love the idea of the hyacinth lilies, but it came with a lot of problems. You see, these hyacinth lilies are normally, I was like not really paying much attention sometimes. So I would wash off the hyacinth lily with what you call chlorine, bleach, yes. Wash it off. It will be in it for probably about a couple hours. Then I would rinse it off and place it into the the pond system, right? And surprisingly, snails, yeah, snail eggs were on the root. Sorry, the like the leaf underneath the leaf not at the top, underneath the leaves, right? And whenever those hatch, I'm telling you, right? It will be crazy, right? So, cut a long story short, I am now facing the consequences of that decision, that of a lot of snails in my pond system. I have a lot of pond snails and um other type of snails that drive me crazy, right? And you might be saying, but I like snails. Why is it that you're hating snails so much? Well, you see, it depends on the type of fish that I have. For example, let's say that I have some egg scatterers, right? And I place them in my pond system for breeding purpose. I would never get any flies because as soon as the egg scatterers do lay their eggs, the snails will actually go about and consuming all the eggs. It's not so with like cichlids like convict cichlids and chromite. They will like protect their nest, warding off all the snails. But some fish like the egg scatterers, they don't really care less as to what happened to the eggs, right? It's very difficult at time to actually manage the snail population within your pond space. Very, very, very difficult. Alright, so this morning we talk about snails. Now my my thing is snails can be a problem and it can be a solution to some of the problems that you might have. I'm tired. Yeah, just wake up. Not even wash face yet. Right? It's about probably about 6:03 Eastern Standard Time, Jamaica. Temperature is about probably about 28 degrees Celsius, and we're coming from December, January, so the sun is gonna come up about probably minutes to seven, about 10 minutes to seven. So the place is like dark, like you'll be having like nine, like 9, 10, 11 a.m. Sorry, p.m. Yeah, in the night. So the place is very dark. All right, so there are several snails that you're having in your pond system. You have bad snails and you have good snails, right? And if you leave your pond system or your aquarium system unchecked, right, you will find yourself having a lot of disaster, right? So there are several little things that do happen with snails around. Let's look at let's look at some of the snails that affect pond system or aquarium system. Let's look at some of the characteristics, right? Bearing in mind that one snail clutch, meaning that one batch of snail can be like hundreds, if not thousands, depending on how big the snail is, right? And it can be a very huge burden on your biological filtration system. It can clog your filters. It can it can mess with your water chemistry because snails they are terrible, especially with the yeah, they are terrible. And I just leave it like that. They are really terrible. And some persons might disagree with me because they have some really beautiful snails. Yes, there are some snails that are really beautiful. In Jamaica, well, what I am aware of, right? I have seen tadpole or pond snails. These are most common snails I encounter in my pond system, right? And I also see ram's horn snails. Now these have taller shells with a spiral shape, and they grow to around the size of probably about a dime or a coin, right? And then you have some trumpet snails. Now, trumpet snails are those snails. I think I have between probably about 50% trumpet snails and about probably 30% pond snails and the rest, the different other snails within my pond system. And all of this as a result of all of this as a result. Hey, oh God. All of this as a result of me carelessly washing off the plants and placing it in my pond system uh, a few years back. Those plants have actually died, and I am still reaping the repercussion of that action. Now, there are several types of snail. Probably you might be familiar with other types, not listed as I said before. Here in the topic unit, I'm talking about the snail encounter so far. Don't worry, I am going to be mentioning seven good snails and bad snails for your system in a bit. Now, snail eat algae and organic debris, and they are beneficial to overall health balance of the aquarium. But as them say, too much of one thing is not good. So some species are attractive and interested to observe, and many hobbyists do value snails as a part of their aquatic collection within their aquarium, right? But some species reproduce so rapidly. Some species of snail reproduce so rapidly, right? Causing explosion in snail population, right? And it just causes a lot of problem, especially when you don't know, accidentally like myself, you don't know where they're coming from. An unplanned snail outbreak can be an indicator of a less ideal condition um, within the aquarium or the tank, right? When you have too much snail, that means something is not right with the water or with the system set up in totality. But I know the reason why I end up with so much snails in my pond system. Not because of lack of maintenance, because trust me, those persons who know me and know my system know that I do follow through with my system. I do look at my system, bearing in mind that I have specific type of fish, and they have particular needs. And as far as the flies are concerned in the pond system, I do take care of my fish, right? Okay, so as far as snails, now here are some interesting points about snails. Snails um enter aquarium one of two ways. Either you purchase them or you introduce them to your system intentionally, or they actually latch on to rocks and plants, decoration, um, driftwood, gravel, whatever, and they actually be placed into the aquarium. Now, one of the worst things that you can ever have is cross contamination, cross shipment of snails. For example, you have multiple tanks and you have snails, but you're not really sure that you have snails. And they actually share stuff between, whether it be the nets, whether it be plants, whether it be substrate, whatever. You're doing some work there. And you find that you have actually shipped over some snails from one aquarium to the next. Right? Snails that sneak in are usually the type that multiply rapidly, and I consider some of the what you call hobbies like myself worst nightmare. Right? I've seen some garden snail in my wife's garden. These garden snails are totally different from the snails kept in aquarium, right? These garden snails, I mean, they consume the plants like crazy, right? You also have some snails like that, but I'm gonna get to that in a bit, right? Snails can be a nuisance, right? Snails such as the Ramzan snail, the Malaysian snails, the trumpet snails, and the pond snails, they can be a nuisance to the aquarists, as they actually try to keep their aquarium looking nice. No, Ramzan, trumpet, and pond snails make scavengers for make great scavengers for shrimp tanks and fry rearing tanks. Right, so it's good to have snails to some extent in your aquarium, as they serve some sort of purpose. It's like they mop up all of the mess that have been left behind as a result of like let's say that you feed a fish and you have some remains left. Yeah, the snails would be a good means of getting rid of all those the mess, right? Sometimes Ramzan snail will eat live plants when there is no other source of food. Most other snails will like leave the plants alone. So yes, as I said before, snails do consume your plants. You're having this nice Anubis, you have some other plants within your system, and I mean, you know that these plants are not cheap. Hi Daniel, what's up? Nice seeing you, brother. This morning we're looking at snails in an aquarium. Me there, my boss, me there. Some persons like snails, some persons don't like snails. Like me, I think that snails are like a nuisance to me. I got my snail accidentally in my pond as a result of plants that I got from the river. I do my little thing, quarantine and washing off and all that. But it still created a mess. After 3 years, they're still there reproducing, and no matter how I change water, change substrate, wash out and all that, they just hitchhike from one pond system to the next, right? So, Daniel, do you have any problems with snails within your system? Or have you ever have had problems with snails within your system? And how do you actually take care of that issue? Okay, okay, boss, cool. Wow, what time is it now? Wow, it is like 6. It's about 6:10. Sorry, about 6:10 in Jamaica now, in the morning, AM. So it's nice that you can join. I do some fish talk Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 to 7. That's nice. That's nice, brother. All right. So Malaysians still live in the gravel by day and come out at night. And this is a typical thing with regards to snails. Snails is like they are nocturnal. They work mostly at night, right? They help to keep the gravel clean and aerated. Now, trumpet snails outbreak are usually like an indication that the aquarium needs to be cleaned more regularly. Wow, 11:16 a.m. Is it Wednesday morning or is it Thursday morning where you're at? Man, oh, Malaysian trumpet snails. Oh, okay, okay. You see, every snails have their peas and their, their thing. Persons have their own liking for snails, but because of the pest snails in it, I have within my system, I have pond snails. It's just not really looking that nice, right? And when for those persons who have actually seen my underwater footage, you will notice that my ponds have a lot of snails. However, there are some ponds that you don't see any snails in, and that's primarily because the fish actually is like at them. For example, in my Oscar pond, in my convict cichlid pond, in my tilapia pond, in my Jack Dempsey pond, you won't see any. Oh, one Wednesday morning. Okay, that means you're just a few hours ahead of us, probably about 4 hours ahead of us. Because it's Wednesday and it's about, yeah, it's 6:18 a.m. in the morning. So I guess you're roughly about 4 or 5 hours ahead of us. Okay. All right. Nice to have you, Daniel, keeping fish. Yes, my brother. All right. So good snails like mystery snails, Inca snails, Nerite snails, assassin snails, and rabbit snails make an attractive and interesting aquarium pet. And as Daniel Keeping Fish says, he have, I think it's a Malaysian trumpet snails, right? All except Nerite snails can reproduce in your aquarium, but usually at a slow rate. So some snails actually reproduce. Some snails, it's funny. Some snails require, some freshwater snails require some amount of salt to reproduce. Some require a different type of environment to reproduce than the one in which they actually live in. Nerite snails need brackish water, as I said. Um, uh, to reproduce, so they are unlikely to multiply like in a freshwater aquarium. Ramsar and snails, okay, okay. So Daniel Keeping Fish says I keep ramsar and snails which breed fast and feed them to my puffers. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. They don't eat plants. Well, the thing with ramsar and snail is that it's a possibility that because there are cases where ramsar and snails do eat their plants, but they only eat plants when they don't have anything else to consume. Yeah, yeah. Pond snails are pest snails, man. They're crazy. They mess up your thing, man, and they multiply. It's as if they are multiplying. They remind me of guppies, right? They are just always reproducing. You'll see one today, and the next week you'll see probably about 10, and the other week you'll see like 20. That's pond snails, man. They're crazy. Multiply crazy. Yeah, they're crazy, right? Mystery snails lay their eggs above the water, usually on the underside of the aquarium. So I guess in looking at mystery snails, I think I have quite a few of those. I also have some pond snails, I know that, and I also have a few trumpet snails within my pond system, right? Yeah. So snails outbreak are usually like responsible respond in a response to amount of food that exists within the substrate within your aquarium or your pond system. Right. So therefore if you're experiencing rapid snail population, that means you're actually doing something wrong. You're actually feeding your fish too much. And as a result, the snail is actually making good use of that extra food, right? Nuisance snails can remove manually. That's one of the most difficult thing to do. To actually remove the snails from your aquarium or your pond, especially like if you have pest snails like pond snails. Removing them manually can, it's a lot of work. And if you see my system, I have like 28 pond system, and to remove all of them is like crazy. Plus, I have plants. So if I'm removing them, okay. Okay, cool. I guess the authorities over here at, they are familiar with mischief snails. They know what mischief snails can do. So as a result, you know, they try as best as possible to keep it out of the water space where you're at, because it can be like really, really a nuisance, right? Um, it's there are strategies in which you can use so as to manage snails, and we're going to talk about that. I am not sure if I'm going to be able to cover the entire topic on snails this morning, because just talking about snails is a lot. And you know, I might end up returning Friday morning to actually wrap up this topic, right? To reduce the number of nuisance snails in your aquarium. um it's good if you could like get them and squish them and you know, feed them to your fish. That's what I normally do. When I have the time, I would like squish them out and put them into the system with my guppies and my other live bearers, and they would actually consume it as a nice source of protein for them, right? Yeah. So in that sense, it kind of helped to reduce the population. Hey, boss. Ryan J. I'm not sure. How your comment got Ryan J. Nice to see you, boss. Good morning. I don't know. I never. When your comment got deleted, is it on this stream or is it in on one of my videos? All right, so let's continue talking about snails now. Assassin snails, like will, as it says, assassin snails will like consume other snails, right? Yeah. So you can probably control the spread of, or should I say, I call it the bloom, the explosion of having snails within your aquarium by taking them out one by one and dispose of them, by taking them out and squashing them and feeding them. Okay, okay. Hush, that's where I go. Ron. Nice seeing you. I appreciate you being here, brother. All right, cool. Um, assassin snails, they will like overrun the aquarium too. They are cool looking also, but they can also be used so as to manage the amount of pest snails that exist within your aquarium, right? Snails look nice, especially when they are huge, you know, colorful, nice shells, but they can be a problem, right? Snails actually go around and they consume the waste that exists within the aquarium, you know, kind of helping the water chemistry, helping to for you to maintain a good positive water column. However, snails itself, they poop a lot, right? They do poop a lot. So you're gonna find that you're eliminating one problem and you actually end up with another problem, right? So it's just it's just like six and one half does not the other, right? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So, in continuation of looking at snails, right now, certain loaches, pufferfish, as Daniel Keeping Fish says, do consume snails and find it really like a delight. Like some pufferfish and cichlids and catfish are are like, you know, they consider snails as a part of their lunch. They consume them, right? But these fish are not suitable for every aquarium, right? To eat the snails. So you're gonna still have issues with snails, especially like if you have the small fish within an aquarium and you have the snail issue, right? The small fish probably might not consume the snail, because you know snail have a really tough shell. So the small fish won't be able, like guppies, like bearers, they won't be able to. So what I do, I normally like on a day in which I have time, I would take out the snails out of the pond. I will actually squash them and I replace the squash snail in the live bear space, and the live bear will actually go at it. Now, some persons use chemical to eliminate snails, right? Um, the chemical used to eliminate snails can be harmful to invertebrates such as shrimps and to some fish and also to plants. So you have to be very careful when you're doing that, right? I know that some snails do not like having too much salt to the water, right? Some snails will actually, fall off the siding of the aquarium and probably might have difficulty, um, you know, actually surviving. So you might see some dead snails, right? All right. So a mass die off of snails within your aquarium space will result in water chemistry actually being unbalanced. You're going to have a spike in nitrite. You're going to have a spike in ammonia because all those snails now are rotting in the aquarium water. So therefore, you're gonna have a problem, right? So you have to be very careful as to how you manage the snails within your space. All right, so you have good snails and you have bad snails for aquarium. Let's look at some of the good snails that I was able to glean looking at the whole topic of snails. Now you have this snail they call zebra night nerite snails. Zebra nerite snails. Now zebra nerite snails, I discovered that they are very good for freshwater aquarium. They are algae eaters. Oh yeah, and that's one thing I should point out. Snails are excellent scavengers, right? They sometimes as a fish keeper, as a pond, sometimes I am slow in actually identifying dead fish within my system. It is the snail that actually control the dead matter that exists within my pond. So the snail would actually consume the dead fish, right? Sometimes I am slow in actually, finding them. This do happen, right? So snails are good that way. Snails are also uh, good algae eaters. Now, when you talk about nerite snails, zebra nerite snails, no, they are good algae eater and they do not trouble your plants. They delicately scrape off the algae from off the plant leaves. So therefore, in a sense, they are like plant cleaners. They clean the plant. Your plant look nice and spick and span. That's the zebra nerite snails. They do not reproduce in fresh water, so you're not going to have any problem having tons of these snails within your aquarium space, right? Now, if you have a male and a female, they will lay fertile eggs, but the eggs won't hatch, right? Unless they are in brackish water. I remember I said that before that some snails, although they live in fresh water, but they require brackish water for them to reproduce. Now, you must be aware though that if you have a household water softener, the water might be able, sorry, the eggs might be able to hatch because of the sodium content of your water. That's if you actually place some amount of some mechanism within your water so as to get the water to be soft. Yeah, these snails, the eggs that are laid, although it is said that generally it needs brackish water, but if you have a water softener in zebra nerite snail aquarium or aquarium with zebra nerite snails, you're gonna find that the eggs will hatch, right? So you're gonna probably might end up with a burst of zebra nerite snails within your system, right? No, most nerite snails, right, have round shells and like they have a slightly pointed edge, right, at the end, and measures about probably about 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters long, right? That is the nerite snails. Now, zebra nerite snails are pretty cool. I mean, they really look nice. When I looked at them on the internet, they are really nice, right? They have dark brown shell and gold stripe. Now, the stripes are thick or thin, yeah, It might be straight or wavy, but it really looks cool. Just looking at it, it looks like a artwork. Now, to keep zebra nerite snails, right? It's you're looking at it's very easy, right? They are very peaceful. They love decaying plants and eating food and veggies, and they eat algae. And it's based on what I've discovered. A 10-gallon aquarium would be okay for that aquarium. Also, the temperature for this snail, zebra nerite snail, will be probably between 72 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, or in Jamaica we deal with Celsius, so it will be like 22 to 26 degrees Celsius. So these snails probably might have a problem in Jamaica, where the average temperature is about probably about 32, 30, especially like in the summer. All right. So another snail in which might be really awesome to keep. I do not know the scientific name for these snails. So you can type in for further information on these snails. You can type in the name that I've actually shared, and you will be able to pick up the actual scientific name of these snails, if you choose to do a little bit more reading on them. Now, tiger nerite snails, now they have the same type of shell as the zebra, right? But their colors is really pretty like a sunset orange, right? The other snail, their color is a little bit different. It's Yeah, it's a little bit different, right? It's cool, but it's a little bit different. The tiger nerite have an orangish kind of shell, and they have like a lighter golden. Yeah, with that. Yes, Ruan, that's true. Uh, with area substrate, more snails. Okay, it's cool, boss. Alright, so um talking about nerite snails, tiger nerite snails in particular, it's different from zebra nerite snails, based on the color. It looks the same with the stripe and all, but it's just the color is different. Sunset orange, with like a lighter golden color, with a spiral type of look around the shell itself, right? They have like bands of dark spots, chevrons, that look like a bit like a tire tracks, right? I have seen these snails. Again, I am, based on what I've been researching. I've been looking at snails recently, and they are really active, based on readings, research, and they can get themselves into some really weird places, like into the intake for like a over hang on the back filter. They actually go in there, right? They are like an escape artist, and it's recommended that you keep a lid on an aquarium that has these snails. Yeah, they remind me of octopus. I mean, like they are escape artists. They will climb at the side of the aquarium, try to get out, right? Go into the filter, the hang on the back filter, back, all of that, right? So you have to keep a lid on an aquarium that has these type of snails. That's a tiger nerite snails. All right. So as far as the care information goes for these snails, they are regarded as easy to care for. They are peaceful. They eat decaying plant material, algae, uneaten foods, and like veggies, right? You have some veggie fish food that you would feed your plecos. Yeah, you can feed them this, and they'll be okay. Also, the minimum size tank, just like the zebra nerite snails, 10 gallon would also be good, and the same temperature between 72 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, or as I say in Jamaica, it would be like Celsius, so it would be about 22 to 26 degrees Celsius, right? it's good when you can keep a colorful snail and the snail is actually working for you, right? Okay, now you have what you call the horn snails, the horn and Nerite snails. Now the horn Nerite snails is a little different from the zebra and the tiger Nerite snails. Now instead of a typical shell shape, the horn Nerite snails have projections that come off the shells, right? They always look like antennas, right? But persons call them horn snails, right? The horns are made out of the same materials as the rest of the shell, right? Yes, boss. Cool. No problem. No problem. Thank you for stopping by, Daniel. Yeah. Yeah, man. Cool. Respect. Yeah, man. Yes, boss. Cool. Appreciate you stopping by. 100% love. Yeah, man. Ah, boss. Cool. Respect. Respect. Cool. Alright. We're talking about horn snails. Now there are several color variation in horn snails, the horn Nerite snails. Some persons like the real cool looking yellow and black spiral patterns, right? The care and feeding of horn snail is just like the other varieties. Their eggs will only hatch in brackish water, right? Yeah, the eggs will only hatch in brackish water. And the care is easy, they are peaceful, they eat algae, decay plant, veggie, uneaten food, and the tank size is about probably about 10 gallons now. Also the temperature, 72 to 78 degrees Celsius, sorry, 72 to 78 um degrees Fahrenheit, and 20 to 20 or 20 to 20 to 26 degrees Celsius, right? So we're talking snails for those persons just stopping by. We're talking snails and we're talking about good snails and bad snails within your aquarium space. I still put mystery snails in the good snails category. Kind of tongue twister talking snails very fast, right? All right. So mystery snails have a rounded shell that can be white, golden, red, blue, green, brown, black, or purple, right? No, they are a kind of upper stairs, but it is easy to control their numbers, right? Upper stairs, crazy man, crazy. If you end up with a male and a female mistress snail, they will breed and lay eggs, but the female lay eggs in cluster of bright pink eggs. Like some it looks. I think they lay it right above the water line. Right? It have a little pinkish, whitish color, like in a liquor. It want to look like some a paper light, right above the water line. So you can easily remove the eggs. Whenever you feel as if you're gonna be overrun by snail eggs, right? So it's easy for you to actually control the population of mystery snails. Some persons don't really pay attention. They might have a lot of plants, and the plants kind of come out of the water a little bit, so they're not really looking at the water, the aquarium water, right above the water edge. So chances are the eggs might hatch, right? That's with mystery snails. Now, some persons like mystery snails. I am like not liking any snails, none at all. Now, some persons think that they are cool. They cruise around the aquarium and as if they are on a mission, right? And they don't really bother plants that much. No, they don't really bother plants any at all, right? But mystery snails are not the best algae eaters. So if you're looking for a snail that consume algae, mystery snails are not really the best choice. They eat some, but there are better things. They do other things, like cleaning up uneaten fish food. So if you're looking for mystery snails to actually clean your algae on your thing, you have better choice. You have better hope with a snail like the zebra or the tiger Nerite snails. Right? They probably do a better job right? The care, they are like peaceful, easy. They eat some amount of algae, but not much. They came plant litter and biological litter such as dead fish, uneaten fish food, and they also consume veggies, right? And the temperature, they can manage temperature. Well, the temperature recommended is between 68 and 82 or 20 to 28 degrees Celsius. So that's a very wide variation there, right? Now, let's look at another snail. Let's look at a Japanese trapdoor snail, right? Japanese trapdoor snail. Now, Japanese trapdoor JTS have a twisted conical shape that gets distinctly larger with each swirl, yeah, on the top of the shell. Now they come in variety of colors like golden color, golden green, white, dark brown, to name a few. Now they are normally kept in ponds, but are more like becoming like a presence in aquarium. Now Japanese trapdoor snails are algae eaters. In comparison to mystery snails, they are algae eaters, right? And other detritus, other matter within the aquarium, and will leave live plants alone. They're not gonna trouble your live plants, right? As long as you feed them, and that's the issue. A lot of people complain that the snails are consuming. I look at it really weird. A lot of persons are consuming that they are complaining that the snails are actually consuming their plants. But the thing is, they're not really setting out to actually feed their snails, right? They are like saying that the snails will eat the poop or the leftover food in the substrate. Sometimes you don't feed the fish enough, so the fish actually consume everything and waiting on more. So there's no leftover. So the snail is there at the bottom waiting on whatever falls to the bottom where there's none, and the plant is there. They are hungry, so they are actually gonna, consume, right? So if you have well fed the Japanese trapdoor snail, they won't bother. They won't bother your hey lunatic fringe. This morning we're talking about snail, my boss. Yes. We're talking about snails. Nice to see you, boss. We are at Japanese trapdoor snails, right? Talking about what they are and how they look and all that. Now they will breed in, that's a Japanese trapdoor snail. They will breed in aquarium if you have like the male and the female, right? You have some snails come like say, these snails like they breed by themselves. But anyway, that's a different thing. I look at. I'll have to research that. Can a snail actually be a hermaphrodite? No, lay the eggs. It don't really need like two snails to all of that. So I probably look at that another time. All right. So talking about Japanese trapdoor snail, the only way to make sure you don't end up with more snail in the tank than you need is that you have probably uh, a snail that have a large appetite is to um, ensure that you have algae prepared for these fish, right? This fish have, sorry, for the for this thing. See, I'm talking about fish. Probably I need a little bit more sleep, right? If you have a good amount of algae and can supply these snails, you will be okay as far as your plant not being eaten, right? And coming back to what I said before, some persons just don't pay attention to feeding of the snails. So as a result, the snails, it's just like you don't really feed your dog. Well, in Jamaica, some people persons have the dog, but they don't feed the dog, so the dog go next door and give problems, right? And then you end up in a legal matter, right? So the snails not gonna go next door; they're just gonna consume what next they see. They're gonna consume the eggs of the fish. They're gonna consume the plants. They're gonna consume things that you don't want them to consume within your aquarium. So that's gonna be a problem. Now, as far as care is concerned, right? As far as care is concerned, Japanese trapdoor snail is easy to care for. It's peaceful. It loves decaying biological matter such as plants and dead fish, and eating fish food, veggies, and algae. Right? This snail kind of have a little growth spirit in it. It goes a little bit, it goes a little bit more than the ones I mentioned before, the zebra and the tiger, and snails. So I would recommend like a average like 15-gallon aquarium for it. The temperature average between 64, yeah, about 64 degrees, 64 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit, or as we say in Jamaica, between 18 and 29. So therefore, it has a wider variety, I should say, a wider range of temperature in comparison to like the tiger and the zebra, Nerite snails, right? All right, so I don't know if any of you have actually heard about rabbit snails. Now, they are my next type of snails that are kept in aquarium. Now, some of these snails are precious to some persons. They actually keep these snails, just like how I would keep fish within my aquarium. They actually keep these aquarium snails. Well, they keep snails. I wouldn't say aquarium snail, but they keep snails within their system. Right. The rabbit snails now, there are many different species of rabbit snails. So they come in a variety of colors and size. Right? They are all they have twisted conical shells that can be anywhere from between 1 to about 4 inches. So you're talking about a snail that can go really huge, right? 2.5 to 10 centimeters, right? In size. Now, these guys love to dig around the substrate, right? This is great for planted tanks since digging in the substrate kind of help to aerate the soil, right? So therefore, the plant roots like that, right? When the soil is aerated, right? It likes to breathe. They feed on algae and eating food, fish waste around the aquarium, and they usually leave the plants alone. So rabbit snails kind of nice to have in the aquarium space. Um, but as I said before, always try intentionally to feed your aquarium snails. If you have them, feed them, right? If you have them, feed them. All right. So I have about roughly about, well, pond snails and bladder. Well, I never looked at. I think bladder snails and pond snails are on my list as nuisance snails. So Ron, I'll talk about that in a little bit. If I am not able to cover everything in the snails presentation, well, in the snails discussion, not a presentation, a discussion. Um, I will return on Friday and I will continue, because what I want to do also, Ron, is to look at the nuisance snails, the snails that creates problem in the space, and also see your strategies as to how you actually manage a snail overrun within your space. Yes, I mentioned some before, but for for those persons seriously considering getting rid of their snails, what are some of the serious strategies that can be employed so as to get rid of those snails? So I might look at that on Friday morning. But as far as pond snail and bladder snail is concerned, just give me a bit. Let me just close this thought here and get to that. But I think that those snails are mentioned in my list as nuisance snails. The ones in which I'm listing now, those are considered good snails in which you can have in your aquarium that doesn't pose any problem much, whether to the aesthetics, the look of the aquarium, or to the plant or to the other fish, because some snails act as a nuisance to the fish that is actually laying within that space. Whenever the fish have actually stepped away a little bit from the egg, the snail will go in and try to consume the egg. So some snails are like that, right? So you don't really want those snails with certain fish within your space. Although most of the fish that would actually lay and lay eggs within my system, they boss, yeah. So most of the fish that will actually lay in my system, I would I think they would actually consume the snails, such as my convict, my Oscar, my Jack Dempsey, my Menganos, or should I say my Emboma, my peacocks. Well, my peacocks, they are a little bit small, so they don't really mess around with snails that much. I guess if I squish them out, I guess they will consume them. Also, I have never ever seen any snail in my Jaguar cichlid system, so I know for a fact that they have actually consumed them, right? Yeah. So that's the gameplay right there, right? Get your fish to actually consume those snails that are considered nuisance. Now, as for the rabbit snails, as I said before, they grow pretty large. I mean, 1 to 4 inches, 2.5 to 10 centimeters in size, right? They dig up the substrate, right? They store it around, right? It's good for aeration within the if you have a planted aquarium. They consume and eating fish food, fish waste, algae, dead fish, plant drop the leaf in the aquarium, they consume that also, right? But they do consume they do consume Java firm. They like Java firm. They will consume Java firm regardless of how you feed them, right? I think they find it like taste is like they find it Java firm like candy, right? So as I said before, it depends to me. It depends on how you keep your snails and the purpose of you keeping your snails. You might find them a nuisance as well as you might find them a joy to keep. Keep in mind that rabbit snail would breed in the aquarium if you have a male and a female. They breed relatively slow, only laying an egg every 4 to 6 weeks. But that still means baby snails in the aquarium, right? And if you know the cyclops snails, snails can lay eggs very frequently. But rabbit snails is between 4 to 6 weeks. So it give you some amount of time to get rid of the eggs. So you have to constantly be watching, looking at, maintaining, keep abreast of your aquarium, what is happening there, so as to ensure that you are not overrun by rabbit snails, right? In continuation, I think I might just have enough time to wrap up the last good snail. And Friday morning, I return and we talk about a little bit more about snails. As we talk about the bad snails and we talk about how what you do so as to ensure to manage your snail population. Wow, nearly an hour and we are just talking snails. Wow, it's amazing, right, guys? The only way to guarantee that you don't end up with babies is to keep only one rabbit snail in your aquarium, because it's very difficult to tell which one is male and which one is female. And since they grow so huge, the beauty still resonates within the aquarium. Having the aesthetic look of this nice two-horn, huge shell creature moving around your substrate, digging it up. Yeah, it will be still looking good, right? So the only way to actually ensure that you don't have too much of those is to actually only keep one, right? The care is easy. It's easy. It's a peaceful snail. It likes algae, decaying plant, and eating fish food, fish waste, and that is something that you don't see much often. And the temperature is between 74 to 84 degrees Fahrenheit, or in Jamaica, as we say, between 23 to 29 degrees Celsius. The average, it's changing up. The average tank size is about 10 gallon. Yeah, that would be okay for it. All right. So the last snail in which I think probably I might be able to brush over that last snail before my hour is up, my 60 minutes, is the last snail I'll be looking at this morning. That's good snails, snails that can be beneficial to your aquarium space. Would be the black devil snail, right? The black devil snail have a pointed conical shape that either very dark brown or glassy black. No, the black devil snail get really big. I mean, like between 2 to 3 inches, or should I say, 5 to 7 .6 centimeters long. They are brackish water snails, so their eggs will not hatch in fresh water. And this is something that I find unique about snails. They will live in fresh water, but they only breed in brackish water. So I guess this is one of the reason why some persons would recommend this snail being kept in your aquarium, because this snail is limited in breeding, being it that it only breeds in brackish water. Even if it lays the egg by some miraculous means, the eggs will not come to fruition because it is not brackish water. If you want them to lay, if you want them to rear, if you want to have babies, you put some salt in that water or get some water softener, and you will have some babies. Now, I think it's really interesting looking at the snails. The shells, the patterns, the color. It's always beautiful to actually look at when you actually look at the snail population in my pond. I when I look at the snail population in my pond, I was like wondering, do people really keep these stuff? And then now I did some research on snails, and I found out that you have some snails huge, like the black devil snail. I mean, 2 inches. Imagine you having a snail 2 to 3 inches in your aquarium, moving around with this unique color. It should look awesome. Now, one thing about the black devil snail, right, is that some persons have issue with them eating live plants, right? And again, person tend to place aquarium, yeah man, person tend to place aquarium snails in the aquarium with plants, and they are not actually feeding them. If you actually have a good amount of algae within the system, right, for them to munch and for them to consume, and they have food to consume, they won't pay attention to your plants. One of the reasons why your snails are actually consuming your plants is because you are not feeding them properly, right? So that's the primary reason. Now, Ron J asked me about bladder snails. Now, bladder snail is on my list of one of the worst worst snail to keep within your system. I look at that Friday morning as I look at some really terrible snails for you to have in your system, how you go about get rid of them, about them, all that. We look at that a little bit more Friday morning. But for the time being, let me continue about, well, let's wrap up about black devil snails. Now, black devil snails are considered to be easy to care for. They are very peaceful. They eat algae, decaying plant matter, biological matter like dead fish, the leaves of the plant, and food that is within the substrate. They will store up the substrate for food. The average size aquarium, is about probably about 10 gallon. It's about 10 gallon, right? And yeah, the temperature for in which they prefer is between 72 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Or as in Jamaica they would say 22 to 26 degrees Celsius. Now, been with you for 60 minutes talking pure snails. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, guys. Now, I appreciate you stopping by. Join me Friday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. as I talk more on snails. It should be an interesting topic. Bring a conversation. Join the conversation. Remember, like, share, subscribe. And remember to hit that all notification bell. Thank you very much. Yes, Ruan. Catch you Friday as we talk a little bit more about bladder snail and pan snail and some other snails that exist within a system. Enough respect, brother. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for your time. Peace out. One up.